Sikhe we will be learning is Likutei Sichos Chelik Chof Ches under the title of Rosh Chodesh Sivan. The pasuk says in Parshat Yisrael, "B'Chodesh Hashlishi Geimer B'Yom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai." In the third month, which is the month of Sivan, the Yidden came to Har Sinai. Vayichan Shom Yisrael Neged Har, and the Yidden rested there in front of the mountain. And the word Vayichan is singular. It doesn't say Vayachanu they rested. It says singular. But this is what it says happened on Rosh Chodesh Sivan. This is the first day of Sivan. Pasuk doesn't say when it was, which day of the month it was. But Zog Chazal, the Chazal tell us, Abayim Azeh mean the talk for Rosh Chodesh. That when it says on that day they came to meet Bar Sinai, it means Rosh Chodesh of that month, of the third month. As it meant talk for Rosh Chodesh Sivan, Chodesh Ashlish, and the day of Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which is the third month. So you didn't ongekommen to Har Sinai, the Yidden came to Har Sinai. Das allein, was Yidden sind zugekommen zu Har Sinai, noch jedem hat sie dort gegeben, the Torah. This itself that they reached to Har Sinai. Before Hashem gave them the Torah yet, Ishein, a Meile Niflo, the Yeser is a big Meile. Die Mezokt in der Agode, as we say in the Agode, Ilu Kervonu Fnei Har Sinai, V'leinosen Lones HaTorah Dayenu. Had you brought us close to Har Sinai, and not even given us the Torah, would have been enough. In other words, this itself would have been a Meile. What would be the Meile? What is the Meile of just coming to Har Sinai on Rosh Chodesh Sivan before receiving the Torah? So the explanation is, the Rebbe says, is vile that etzem gefinne sich neged ahor, just being by the mountain, had by the Yidden ufgete na'iloi nifla, already caused the Yidden to reach a very high level. What was the high level? V'chazal zog nechachomim tell us from posik vayichan sham Yisrael, and this posik that it says vayichan loshin yochet singular, that they all were there ki ish echod b'leiv echod, like one man with one heart. By the Yidden already resting, being in front of the mountain, all the Yidden became united, like one man with one heart. So this is the Mile of Rosh Chodesh Sivan. So far, the Mile that's the day that the Yidden became Ba'achdus, a real Achdus of all being like one. On the other hand, we find something very strange when it comes to this day of Rosh Chodesh Sivan, concerning the time when the Yidden got there from there on till Matan Torah. The Gemara rechnet uns beprotis, wie azay Meshe Rabbeinu hat zugegräht die Yidden zu Kabbalas HaTorah, the Meshech, the Tag von seir Onkommen zu Har Sinai bis zum Tag von Matan Torah. The Gemara in Shabbos goes out, counts, tells us in detail what Meshe Rabbeinu did in these days. They came to Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the Torah was given on Vav Sivan. Machlok is it. Rabban hold on Vav, Rabbi Yossi holds on Zion, but they came there on Rosh Chodesh, and from then on started the preparations to Matan Torah. So the Gemara goes into what was the preparations that Moshe Rabbeinu did with the Yidden when they came to Har Sinai till the day that they received the Torah. So the Gemara goes like this: Beis Sivan Omer Luvatem Tiyilim Meleches Kenim. On the second day of Sivan, the Eibusha said to them, Moshe told them over what the Eibusha said. He said, "You shall be to me a kingdom of Kohanim." That's the statement he made on Beis. Gimel Sivan, on the third day of Sivan, the Eibishter, Moshe Rabbeinu gave him over mitzvahs hagbole, the mitzvah of surrounding the mountain to make sure no one goes down. Dalet Sivan, on the fourth of Sivan, that Sivan of Prisha, the Eibishter gave them the commandment to separate from their wives. Hey Sivan is given Bonam Mizbeach Vikar Oval Korban. On the fifth day of Sivan, that's the day that Moshe Rabbeinu built a Mizbeach and brought a Korban. Vad la'amiras Nasa v'nishma they call Yisrael. That's the day that the Eden said Nasa v'nishma, that we will do and we will hear, which means we'll accept to do, and then we'll listen and understand what's happening. All these days, every day is a different thing that Moshe Rabbeinu said, the Eibusha said, and Moshe Rabbeinu gave it over to the Eden. Mashenke b'reish Chodesh Sivan the Tog, when they are ongekommen to Har Sinai, but on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the first day of Sivan, the day that they reached Har Sinai from Refidim, they came from Refidim and they traveled and they reached Har Sinai on Rosh Chodesh. Zog the Gemara says, Lei Omar Lahu v'lei Mideh. He didn't say anything to them. Nothing. The words say, Lei Omar Lahu v'lei Mideh, nothing. He didn't say anything about it. Because the weakness of their trip, they just were traveling. That means, since the Yidden were weak because of the hardships of the trip, so Moshe Rabbeinu waited with preparing them for receiving the Torah till the next day. So he started it the next day, after the Chodesh, which is base. And in the Sikha, the Rebbe says that it was Moshe who waited, and in the order 14, the Rebbe goes in, was it Moshe Rabbeinu who waited, or the Eibishter waited, whatever it is, but there was a waiting here that the Chodesh, nothing was done, nothing at all was done to prepare. In other words, it doesn't say nothing was done, it says nothing was said to prepare to Kabbalah Satayr. If das Bechal nicht verstanden. First glance, it's completely not understood. Says Yedua was Chazal sagen, as a rausgegangen from Mitzrayim is by Yidden given a gewaltige Tshuka zu Kabbalah Satayr. Chazal tell us that when Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, they had a great desire to receive the Torah. Bizei am gezählt, if I believe in the text, this Matan Torah. So much so that they count how many days are left till Matan Torah. It says in the Rishonim, making from a Medrash, that the mitzvah of Sfira Seima comes from that. When the Eibishter saw, after they were told that they will go out of Mitzrayim, they'll receive the Torah. So when they left Mitzrayim and they knew they were going to receive the Torah, they were so anxious that they started counting the days. Hashem was so happy about this. He says, because of that, I'll give you a mitzvah every year to count the days between Pesach, which is Yitz Mitzrayim, and Shavuos, which is Matan Torah. But at that time, this is what happened. The Eden had such a great desire. They counted the days. When do you count days to something? When you can't wait to get to it, you have such an anxiety about getting to it. Und moving bepasht, self understood, as was nennt es ist geworden der Tag von Kabbalah Teire, als größer ist, was gewinnt, oder die Steckig ist. And the closer they got to receiving the Teire, the stronger their desire was. Alachs kama vekama kumendik zum Har Sinai, the word wo es wird gegeben werden Teire. Certainly when they actually got to the mountain, which is the place where they knew they will get the Teire. Hat das Avada und Avada herausgerufen bei Yidden, die starkste Gefühle von Tschuk und Tzvit zu Kabbalah Teire. It definitely brought out by Yidden the strongest feeling of desire and waiting to receive the Torah. We see the nature of people. When a person has a great desire to something, a longing to something, is by him demelt mit tefes mocken in Vermatterkeit für sein Guf, then the fact that he's tired and his body is tired and weak will not mean anything. Will not hold him back from doing what he can to get the thing. If he really wants it, it'll happen anyway. Certainly we get close to what he's to getting the thing that he's waiting for. For sure you wouldn't feel the fact that you're tired and your body is tired if it's something that you really, really want and you're getting very close. Based on that, it's not understood. And while they were by the mountain, noch die alle Wochen und Tags von Gagoyim zu Kabbalah Satayra, after the weeks and days of their desire and longing to receive the Torah. Soll sich Moshe Rabbeinu abhalten von zu Meichen sein, die Jiden zu Kabbalah Satayra, zu lieb Kulsche Durche. So Moshe Rabbeinu should hold himself back from doing anything to prepare them to Matan Torah because they're weak from the trip. Und noch mehr, die Chazal sein Medayik, it goes further. Chazal say the words, Le'omar lehuva le'mida. Zeken ein Wort nicht gesagt in dem Malam. Not only he didn't do much about Kabbalah Satayr because they were weak. Because they were weak from the trip, he didn't say one word. Nothing, the Gemara said. Lemide. So the question is, how could he not do that? Now comes the second time. What about the Yitzn side? Wie kommt es, als Masken gewähnt zu opruhen sich und nicht gemont beim Menschen, als soll sie losen Herren etwas, was sich allapachs wenn Kabbalah Satayr? How did they allow it? How would they mask him? How did they agree to let go to rest and not claim to Moshe, please tell us something, a little bit, something about Kabbalah Satayr? We're there. No one said a thing. Certainly, the trip was not that strong that should cause a very big weakness from the trip. Why? For number one, from Refidim is Har Sinai is not Greisa Merchag. From Refidim to Har Sinai is not such a far way. The Rebbe quotes Nor 18, that's what it seems from the Ramban, the Even Ezer, and the Barbanel. Even though the Rebbe brings in the Even Ezer in different places, it seems that it is further, but the Pashtas, it's very close. So the trip is not even that long. Number two, the Etzem Gene is nicht verbunden mit Kentirche Yisera, for the Ranana Kovedet, or Gegange Foruis, or Kol Anomach Magbiya, Kol Agveya Mashpilei. That the traveling was easy traveling. Sometimes it's hard to travel when you have bumps in the road and you have other things that you have to take care. Here we know it wasn't that way, because it says that the Anana covered the cloud, it went ahead, and anything that was low, he would pick it up. Anything that was high, he would knock it down. That means he made the road very smooth. So they were walking in a very straight way, which makes the walk easier. Third thing is, Rosh Chodesh Sivan is given by Yom Rishon to be Yom Beis, b'smichas l'menucha shleima from Shabbos. Rosh Chodesh Sivan was Sunday, or it was Monday. Depends according to which opinion. According to the Rabbanon, that the Torah was given on the 6th day of Sivan, the Chodesh was Monday. According to Rabbi, it was given on the 7th, the Chodesh was Sunday. But both ways, it was very close to Shabbos, and Shabbos is a day of rest. And day of rest, they wouldn't travel. And in order 21, the Rebbe says, according to the one that holds that you're not allowed to walk more than the Tchum, and when the Eden got the mitzvah of Shabbos before Matan Torah, at this point, they already got the mitzvah of Shabbos in the city of Moro, the place of Moro. So if they got the mitzvah, and they also got this din that they cannot walk more than the Tchum, so they couldn't travel on Shabbos. So they didn't travel on Shabbos. So Shabbos they rested. They had a menucha shleima, they had a good rest on Shabbos. So when they traveled afterwards, imagine travel after a rest is not such a terrible thing. So the Rebbe gives 3 reasons why the trip itself wasn't so bad. Is doch noch mehr tamua, it makes more not understood. Verwossi bei Eden, as a greise Chlisches, as zu lieb dem, sollen sie nicht sein, besugel zu kennen, hätten a viele ein Wort, v'lei mide wegen Kabbalah Satere. So after that we're saying, so how is it that they got so weak that because of their weakness, they were not capable of listening, not even to one word about Kabbalah Satere. So it goes from both sides. Number one, from the side that they were waiting for it so much. So even if they would be weak, who cares if you're waiting for us? You can imagine someone would tell you that in a few days in that place, you'll get $1 billion. And you get there a few days before, you wouldn't be able to sleep. As weak as you are, you still won't be able to. And here they didn't say anything. And especially if the trip wasn't such a long trip and a hard trip, to say that because of the trip they were weak and they couldn't accept anything to prepare the Matan Torah. The Shleimer the beer is that in the Rebbe said the beer is like this. Bitchol shedorcha meine Chazal nit as the Chlishas aguf von der Gashmus die Aliche bederech, nor beike the Chlishas Ruchnis, mit der Ruchnis die Aliche bederech, what the Eden haben dem durchgemacht. When the Gemara says that we couldn't do anything for Hachanot Matan Torah because of the weakness of the trip, doesn't mean the physical weakness of the body because of the physical trip that they took. Mainly it means the spiritual weakness that they got because of the spiritual trip that took place of the Eden when the Eden came from Refidim to Har Sinai. It was a spiritual trip. And the Rebbe explains what that means. Just like there is a trip taking a voyage, you take a journey, that you go physical journey from one place to another place physically. So too, there is a journey, a spiritual journey that you go on a trip, a spiritual journey, which means that Adam gate from the a matzav, which is mokim beruchnius, to a zweit matzav, which is mokim beruchnius. Traveling means you go from one place to another. Now, place doesn't only mean physical place. Place is a matzav, a situation, a level. And there is beruchnius when you go from one place, meaning from one situation, one level, beruchnius, to another level, beruchnius. That's called also halicha. So it's a spiritual journey. And this trip could be Baliyah de Bride, it could going high up or going down, as long as you're changing your situation. Or the Bishinu Tzanandri, it doesn't mean the up or down, it could be just changing to another thing. That could be a change or a travel, a trip, a journey in your emotions, which is love and fear, all these things. Or the Beseichel could be in your intellect, which is in your brain, understanding, it could go level from one level to another. Or the it could be a spiritual trip in which way you're serving Hashem. What's your level of serving Hashem? You could travel from one level to another. All that is an explanation of what it means to take a trip beruchnis. And I feel in the Vel, they say sometimes when you change your matzav, you say you take a trip, you take a journey. Unfortunately, they use it in the wrong things. They use it when you take drugs, they take this. So you're in the journey. You didn't travel anything, but you change your matzav. So that's something that's constantly used. So also, we're talking here about beruchnis. You could go from one place to another when you really didn't travel begashmis, but that's called going from one place to another. Let's apply it to what we're talking about here. The Masoyas Vasiden seien gegangen from Mitzrayim bis Har Sinai, seine Gewinn nicht nur Alicha Gashmis, Reicha Bike Alicha Ruchnis. These trips that the Yidden took, when they went from Mitzrayim to Har Sinai, they were not only a physical journey, but they were also a physical journey too, but they were also mainly a spiritual journey. Ashinu in the Matzav Ruchni for Niden, Nanaliyah Beitis Hashem. It was a change in their spiritual level of the Eden, and it was an elevation in their service of Hashem. They were traveling, which means they were going from one level to the other to get closer and to be more worthy of receiving the Torah. They state in Svarim, and we know what it says in Svarim. Take a Chodesh and Zayar. Asaynik Mitzrayim and Eden given Shkoim Mem Tasharatum. When Eden were Mitzrayim, they were sunken, drowned in the 49 gates of impurity. When Yeder Togi given Asfira Aliyah from the Shore, every day that they went out from them going out, there was counting Sfira, but that meant really an elevation of a gate from Tumah to Tare to Sharibina. Bis noch Mem Tes Aliyahs, seien sie in Sal geworden Legamre. After 49 aliyahs, 49 levels that they traveled, beruchnis, so they came to a point that Zainam Mamlechas Kenim and Chodesh by Matan Torah. So now they came to a level where they could be a kingdom of Kohanim and the holy nation by Matan Torah. Now, Di Ala Masois, aliyahs and Avodas Hashem, all these trips that we said, which means the levels that they went from one level to another, the spiritual journey that they took all this time, it was in an orderly fashion. It was a seder, like you go from one level to another. They went from one madreke to another madreke. Oh, but the aliyah by them from Refidim to Arsin, they give them beifim shel shinu yikri. But this one that we're talking about, when they traveled from Refidim to Har Sinai, here this spiritual trip was not just a change from one level to a higher level, but there was a main change. Actually, in order 26, the Rebbe says, the Chazal say that the word Refidim means Rofu Yideyam Midivre Teira. Their hands were weak from Teira, a low level. And from there, they came to Har Sinai, which was the place of Kabbalah Satira. So it's a great jump from being very weak in Ruchnis Dikinyonim. Now they came right to Matan Teira. So you can imagine what kind of jump that is. It's not just a travel from one level to another. It's jumping from one level to a level Bein Arech. They went a long stretch. Begashmas, maybe it wasn't so long, but the stretch, meaning the change of level that they went, was a long stretch. And they went up in such a high level compared to the days before, with no comparison. Usually, one level to another is compared. This one is this high, the other one is higher, a lot higher, but still be'erech. But this was a jump, shlei be'erech. He's moving at dosi verbunden mit grace tirche die Yegiye b'Avodas Hashem. So this contains a great tirche. You're very involved, and it's very hard labor in the ruchnistic way of serving Hashem. So this was a special trip. Now the Rebbe so far didn't explain where do we see that this was a jump. Maybe this was also just another trip. So the Rebbe is going to explain. We see that this was a jump from the previous level to this level bein arech. The Ausgeteiligkeit von der Masse, the specialty of this trip that they came to from Refidim to Har Sinai, the Chazal explain it. When they explain the posuk where it says Vayichan Sham Yisrael, and he, the Yidden, rested there, and the Chazal say, as we said before, Keish echad b'leiv echad, they all at that point when they came to Har Sinai, like they're one person, one heart. But all the other trips, there was with complaints, with arguments. By Shar Kolachnias angewen, Tarumus and Machlekes. By the other trips, even there were Ruchnis, but there's still complaints and arguments. Und Dafke bei der Chnie und Neged Ahar seien die Eden gescheinen an Art des Gemurre Kishach B'Leiv Echad. Only when they got to the mountain, then the Eden were standing in a real unity. Keish Echad B'Leiv Echad, like a man with one heart. The Ashleiman, the Rebbe, as you could say, what does it mean? To show the specialty of something like this. Well, this is always special, but the Rebbe explains the specialty is something very great. When we say that the other trips, there were complaints and there was arguments, is nicht chas v'sholem poshet zin, aber alle chnies b'zeh givem machlekes and yonim gashim k'yetze b'zeh. It doesn't mean the simple sense that by all other trips they were poshet fighting over physical things or similar things. Nor seiz a machlekes l'shem shemaim. They were arguing before. But their arguments was l'shem shemayim, with a spiritual argument for the sake of Hashem. For mitzad hateva she'idbi HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'bnei Adam zein teisiyim shavas. There is a nature that Hashem made that people, no two minds are the same. So obviously, normally it's almost like saying it's the Eibusher's fault that there's machlekes. They're fighting in Yonim Ruchni because everyone has a different day. Nochmer, it's more than that. In Teira in Teira you have different opposing opinions. Different opinions. Unochmer, not only that there's possible, and we find machlekes in Teira. Leinitna divrei Teira chatuchen. The Teira, when it was not given clear cut. Elakol dover, everything is memtas ponim Torah, memtas ponim tomei. In everything, the Torah was given that you could figure out 49 ways that this is tomei, and you could have 49 ways this is Torah. The Torah was given that way. And they're all words of Hashem, of the living God. It's all words of Hashem. So, therefore, therefore, it makes sense that all the other trips, there were still arguments. But the arguments were l'shem shemayim, because that's the nature, and the Torah is that way. So there were arguments, and each one complaining to others, but they were all l'shem shemayim. So it wasn't so bad. The arguments is not such a bad thing. But when they came close to the mountain, something special happened. A main chidush, which is against nature. As is eine bei sei Bottle geworden, alle Chaluke Deis, seine Sachat geworden, all the differences of opinion was bottled, was nullified, and they all became united. Ki ish echad unoch mer belev echad. The Lashon Rashi is they were like ki ish echad, like one man with one heart. The fact that they're one heart is a higher type of achdus than one man. Why? One man means they're all doing the same thing. But here we're saying not only they did the same thing, they decided to do the same thing. They all had the same feeling. Nit nor ki ish echad und nachdus was eine Bosse sehen sie alle ki ish echad begei lasir b'chulu. It's not only ki ish echad that it's an nachdus that you could see. They're all united. They're all doing the same thing when it comes to do something. That you see it, all the Eden agree and resolve with one resolution that this and this is what they were going to do. But here we're saying it was more than that. Nor eich belev echad. Anachdas gemura eich the Leib, the regesh odom. It was always also an achdus in the heart, in the feeling. That's a real achdus of them becoming one. Moving as azag greise tirche. Ishtadlis v'yigia ruchnis to the Grechim of the achdus. So we understand that to get this level it requires a lot of involvement, a lot of work, spiritual work. It's a far trip. It's a far stretch. To be mevatel, to nullify any opinion that you might have different than somebody else. That they all should have the same opinion. And l'shem shemayim. And not only in actuality to agree to the same thing, but their feelings should all be the same. So to get involved and to reach that level, it causes, for sure, caused the Eden a great, you could say, exhaustion. They were emotionally exhausted. And therefore, the Rebbe shouldn't say anything. In other words, we asked the question, how could the Rebbe should not say when they're getting so close and they wanted Matan Torah so much? Because they reached a high level at this trip, a high level of closeness to Matan Torah, another high level of Achdus, and that exhausted them so much. So far it comes out, not to hear anything about Matan Torah on this day is strange. It's something lacking, but we have no choice. They were so exhausted, it's not possible. But the exhaustion question is, how could exhaustion stop something? Because this is not a kashmastic exhaustion, it's a deep spiritual exhaustion. So we could understand why they because of that, missed out on the achoneh. What the Rebbe is going to do now is going to show you even more that this reaching this madrege of achdus is not only an exhaustion that pushes away hachonet Matan Torah. This itself is a privation to Matan Torah. Nu pshat. A tifere bir yeshleimen, and a deeper pshat we could say is like this. Chol shedurch is nicht nur an Inje für Chasson, als mit Zader Chlishus von Iden, sie sich nicht gekannt vernehmen mit der Achones Kabbalas Torah. It's not only like it seemed from what we said till now, that the weakness means it's a Chasson, something lacking. But because they were weak, there's no way he could change that, so they couldn't receive any Achones Matan Torah. Nor binyoneinu ze adarabe. But we're talking here, here, the fact that they were chul shadurch is a mile in the level of the Yidden. You could even say, as he's a hecherich von der Späte, die Kinyonen achone von Yom Shlach. It's a mile, and in itself is a achone. And the Rebbe says, as I will explain, we could say that this is even a stronger achone than the other days. It seems like there was no achone. This day didn't say anything. That itself is achone, as the Rebbe will explain, and could be even a better more than the others. In order to understand that, let's first understand what it really means that they were all united. What is the specialty of being all united? We said before, it's very hard to do that. But what's so great about it? What is it that we say they reach such a high level? What is, besides the union of Achdus and such a Achdus with the heart, but there is more to it, the Rebbe says, to see how strong and what's special about that. And then we'll understand what we said before. You can't imagine how far away is the level of Moshe Rabbeinu to the simplest Yid. And here we're saying, as Vayichan Shom Yisrael, as alle Yidden, full Moshe Rabbeinu, bis Apostel Sheva Pshutim, seien nisachat geworden be'achdes Gemurah b'Leib echad. And here we're saying that all the Yidden were united with one heart, complete union, all meaning from top to bottom, from Moshe Rabbeinu throughout all of them till the lowest. But you can imagine how far the top of Moshe Rabbeinu is to the lowest. It wasn't that they just did it out of habit. No, they really got united. So here we see that there's became one, the highest level, Moshe and all the highest people became one with all the Eden, including the lowest. The full movement, since we're saying that's what happened, but because this is possible to happen, we see it happened, is understood as by Eden is faran an the Chodesh beleben welches gleichen sich huis ki ish echad belev echad the godel shebagdele mit dem poshet shebapshutim. This shows that there is something, there is a certain common denominator, a certain nakud, a certain point that they're all equal. Like this, we know Moshe Rabbeinu is not equal to the simple person, but since they're united all in one, means there's something that unites them all to be one. When the dem is bestanden the ruftuf ma'yicha sham Yisrael neged, that's so special about the Eden being there all like one. Because ständig neged the Horif zu sein Kibbul Torah from Sinai, being by the mountain, when he's supposed to receive the Torah from Sinai. And in order 34 says that even though it was only then, but that what happened then is something that is negated to learning Torah all generations later. Because it says by Matan Torah, David spoke Kol Advarim Leimer. All the words that he said, it means the whole union of Matan Torah. Leimer means to say it to later generations. So what happened here is something special, that when they stood by Har Sinai, ready to receive the Torah, so at that moment, there was a revelation within them of that nekuda, of that point that makes them all like one. In them, that is the main preparation to Kabbalah Torah. That's the main preparation to Kabbalah Torah. So the Vayicha Sham Yisrael is not just the mile on its own. Till now we were learning that they came to a very high madrege. They were very exhausted from that madrege. But what's the high madrege? They had Achdus. Now the Rebbe is saying it's not just a madrege on its own. This is a preparation to Matan Torah. The Achdus is preparation, because this that happened here is not just something special Achdus. It brought out something deep within the Yidden. It brought out Mazmagalat, the fact that there's one Nekuda that they're all the same. And that is a preparation of Matan Torah. Now, what does that got to do with Matan Torah? It's a nice thing. It's a very high madrege, but why is that connected to Kabbalah Torah? The asbor in them, so the explanation is like this. Spoke many times, the Rebbe says, what's so special that happened at and from Matan Torah? At first glance, they learned Torah in the previous generation, before the Torah was given. For instance, Yeshiva Shem Ve'ever. You know, Shem Ve'ever had a yeshiva. We know the Ovesh Lom the Ovesh learned the whole Torah before it was given. Even their next generations also lived in Matan Torah, even before Matan Torah, but the children, the descendants of the Ovesh, learned Torah. Chazal tell us that never stopped a yeshiva from our parents, from our forefathers, which means in Mitzrayim. So all the years of Mitzrayim before Matan Torah, nothing stopped learning. The Rebbe has an interesting word. The Lashon in Gemara is Posko. Where do we find another Lashon by Torah Posko? Somebody who keeps on learning, the Gemara's Lashon is Posik Pumim Girse. His mouth didn't stop. That means that in Mitzrayim, not only did they constantly have yeshivas and learn, they constantly learn Pashut. Is was besteht der Chiddush mit Matan Torah. So what's so special? Matan Torah gave us the Torah. They knew the Torah before. When it's Bayra, so the Rebbe explained, der Ufte besteht in dem, was demult ist gewähnt Matan Torah. No Salon ist der Rosse. Sie ist gegeben geworden von Eisna Torah. By Matan Torah, the word Matan means given. No Salon, we say in the Brocha, he gave us the Torah. That means that the Torah was given to us. Before Matan Torah, they had the Torah, but no one gave it to them. Somehow they got it themselves, so they took it with their own strength. And they took the Torah with their own keach, seichel, and they had bitlu as much as you have to, but it's all things that came from within their mitzias. The Shas Matan Torah, the Reibish, the gegeben Torah, like Neifun v'keach hanesina shaloi. Matan Torah, he gave it according to how much he could give. He is beyond any limitations. When you take it with your own keiches, you are unlimited. Whatever you're able to take, you take. To the greatest person, you still take it with your keiches. But Matan Torah, David gave it from his keiches. But Matan Torah is given by Daber Elikim. Matan Torah says, the Eibush spoke, so it's the Eibush they're giving. As kol advarim eile, Leimer, to say these words. What does it mean? Leimer de by Daber Elikim, to say, which is the rest of the Torah, of what? Of what the Eibush is saying. That means the Torah contains what the Eibishter is saying, what the Eibishter is giving. The same thing later. Moshe Rabbeinu on the mountain learned the whole Torah from Hashem, and he gave it. So it's all what Hashem gave him to give. So by Matan Torah, it came from the Eibishter side. This was not a one-time thing. But by giving the Torah, the Eibishter kivyochel sich hereingegeben in the Torah. By giving the Torah, he put himself in the Torah. That now in the Torah we have Hashem the way he put himself in. Like there's a famous pshat. The Chazal say that the word Anochi is an abbreviation of the 4 words Anon Nafshi Ksovis Yehovis. The push of the pshat means Anon Nafshi, I myself, Ksovis wrote it, and Yehovis gave it. They were just saying, I wrote the Torah and I gave the Torah. But there's a taich, Chassidus says, it means that means differently. Anon nafshik sovis yovis means I wrote myself into the Torah. I gave myself over into the Torah. What happens since Abish put himself in the Torah? So from that on, never learn stay, whichever time it is. All times, or whichever time it is, you have to make a bracha before. And what's the bracha before you learn Birchas HaTorah? You gave us his Torah, and he's in the Torah. So it's the Eibush giving us. And B'meila comes out, Eisi atem leichim. It's a lotion from Medrash that the Eibush says, you take me. Because the Pasuk says by the mitzvah of giving donations to the Mishkan, it says v'yikchuli truma, v'yikchuli, they should take me. So Medrash says v'yikchuli means you are taking me. So when we learn Torah, we're taking the Eibishter. So basically it comes from the Eibishter side. Und das ist der Chidush von Aton Nigleisa Chul of Matan Torah. That's the Chidush of Matan Torah. Matan Torah we say in Rosh Hashanah, the Kedavening, Aton Nigle, you revealed yourself and gave us the Torah. What is Pshat? There's a special revelation that took place coming from the Eibishter's end. I say, not only it was an addition and greater, higher than before Matan Torah. But it says, something new happened, which is not bad. Not like this when we say something higher, it means it's the same thing, just more of it. Here it's not that. Completely different thing. Before Matan Torah, when you learn Torah, it's all based on your own seichel. Is moving them at genommen von Torah nor as efel von der Leib is bekehrt zum Masig sein von Chodesh Chodesh Baruch Hu. So people who learn Torah took from the Torah as much as they, with their seichel, could grasp the Chochmah of the Torah, the Chochmah of Hashem. Hashem can noch Matan Torah, but after Matan Torah is the limit of Torah beif and the learning Torah in such a way, I'm a verbindt sich mit dem mit Neisen Torah, and we connect yourself to the giver of the Torah. Was hat allein sich hereingegeben bei Torah, and he put himself in the Torah. That's something that's there. That's beyond the limitations of people. So till Matan Torah, it depended, the Torah was there, but it was limited to the limitations of the people. Great people, obviously, all great people, but still people. Matan Torah, it's not based on the limitation of Torah, it's something beyond the limitation of people, beyond the limitations of people, it came from Hashem. Und das So this that we said that is the chidush of Matan Torah fits, is verbunden mit Vayicha Shem Yisrael ki shechet b'lev echad. That fits to the union that there was achdus, like one man, like one heart. We were saying before, it's a great thing, and something special happened, that they became like one person with one heart. What does it got to do with Matan Torah? We're saying, not that it's a great thing. We said that's a preparation to Matan Torah. Now we know why. Because the chilukim b'limud HaTorah zwischen ein Yid and der zweiten Yid. The difference is by learning Torah between one Yid and another Yid. All the way, the difference between Moshe Rabbeinu to the simplest Yidden. That's how much a person could grasp his graspings of the Torah. Was ein Yid hat und keches nafshe aggressere und hecher avone was sagen Torah, wie das hat der zweite Yid. That one person is able to grasp the Torah much stronger than another Yid. It could be a chilik bein arech. This person is very great in his understanding, and this person is not great at all, and could be very far apart. But there's different, a lot of difference, very great differences. But when we say Ayid connects by learning Torah with the Eibishter, the one that gave the Torah, he becomes one, which becomes with the Eibishter. He does by them godlische begdelim and them kotnische begtanim. That's all the same by the greatest person and the smallest person. The fact that when we learn Torah, we take the Eibishter is by an ish poshet was learned mikra, is by a simple person. All he could learn is chumash. He gets an aliyah, so he reads the Torah. Afile when versteht nicht was lernt, muss magdem sein nossen und estrose. A person who doesn't understand anything could get an aliyah, and he has to make a bracha. And the din is in mikra when he learns, even if he doesn't understand, he's mekayim the mitzvah of Torah, learning Torah, and he has to make a bracha. What's the bracha? Noson nisrasa. So this that Eibush put himself and he gave us the Torah, is even by Poshet Reb Shuti. He does a selber AC was by dem Lamden Gott was a Gott Atif Avon Asog in Torah, and he's never had a Shudushin meeting. It's the same Eibush, same essence of the Eibush, like by the biggest Lamden, the greatest scholar that has a deep understanding and grasp in Torah, and he makes all kinds of Chidushim. So they're all the same. Der Ilui von Eisiatem Lekh, this greatness that you take the Eibishter, werkt nicht der Greich durch eigene Keiches, nor kommt It doesn't come through you based on your ability. It comes from above, from the Eibishter. Weil Nosan lo nesterose. The Eibishter gives the Torah. Und der Inyan is verbunden mit Leib von Eden. This idea is connected to a Yiddish heart. Weil in Pnimis nekudes ha-Leib von Eden. Because in the depth of a Yiddish heart is Meir Yechide Shebenefesh. This is connected to Yechide. There's in Neshama we have, it says 5 levels. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechide. Yechide is the essence. Yechide comes from the word Yochid. The connection we have to the Yochid, to the Eibishter, who gave the Torah, that's Yechide Shebenefesh. And that every Yid has. It's just not Begilui. You don't feel it, but every Yid has it. This is Hecher Legamer for Zayin Asoge B'Tam Vadas. It's higher than your understanding. Your understanding is specifically details of you. This is the essence of a person. But in then the Kudah is by Jeden Niden Zayin Munne in Eibish Normalem B'Tam Vadas. And actually, in that connection to that is the Munne. Every Yid has a Munne in the Eibish, and the Munne is beyond understanding. It comes all from this. From this, in the Kudah in the heart, to the Yid is Be'etzim connected to the Eibish there. That's the meaning that he, meaning Yidden as one man and one heart rested there when they came to the mountain, because Kumendik Negadahor was that Gedarv Zain Maimed Hasin Matan Teira. When they got to the mountain, which the place where there had to be house did Matan Teira, Maimed Hasinai, Matan Teira. So hat es herausgerufen bei these Galus von der Pnimis und Kudas Alep, was sie Baalid and Beshove. That just being by that place where you're going to receive the Torah. And we said before, what is the Torah? Giving the Torah means the Gilui of the Eibush, like the essence. That was revealed as soon as they got to Har Sinai. When their Gilui and the Kudush Belev has a gemacht for a kedel to the Getlichkeit from Torah to my Daber Lekim Bizavet Lemer. And this that caused them by Matan, when they got there, it awakened within them the pneumius of their heart, which is this Nakuda of connection to the Eibishter. And that made them a vessel to receive the Torah. Because now that this is since giving the Torah means that the Eibishter is bringing out his essence. So when that was revealed in a Yid, that's the best way to prepare yourself to Matan Torah. So we see how this Ki'ish Echad B'Leiv Echad is connected to Matan Torah. And as we said before, it's not only connected to Matan Torah, it's Hachonah to Matan Torah. So what happened in Chodesh Sivan, they got this Kishach of Leib Echad. That is also how Chana to Matan Torah. Till now, in the beginning of the Sikha, we thought there was something great that happened, and it was so tiring, and therefore they couldn't prepare to Matan Torah. This was not a preparation of Matan Torah. This was something great that they reached. Now we're saying it's not. That's not some great they reached. That's a great thing which came because of Matan Torah, because that's what's going to happen by Matan Torah. So therefore, to feel that way, that Gilui is the greatest preparation to Matan Torah. Now, the Rebbe will few years later, and I might just tell it to you to say it now. Ubemele, that's why David didn't say anything to them. Saying is already details, saying different things. This is something that's beyond details. This is something that has to do with the essence of a Yid, which is the connection of a Yid to the Neis Natera, which is the greatest bittul. And the Rebbe will explain it. But first, the Rebbe says, if this is the Achonah, this is the best Achonah to Matan Torah, so why do we need the Achonis later? Basically, they said they one Achon, Gimel, and Dalet, and hey, different Achonis. Why did they have to do that? If they had the Achonah of the Kishach B'Lev Echad, which is the essence of Matan Torah, finished. The Rebbe continues. But the Achonah from Yichon Sham Sor B'Lev Echad is not the Esh, the target that Achonah to Matan Torah. This Achonah, this preparation, that they're all like one, is just the first step to prepare for Matan Torah. Why? Their mile in the fro from Bittul Ba'altas Vet Menakel to Torah. True that because they had the Bittul, they reached this level beyond their Metzias, something that came from beyond. That's the greatest scale at Matan Torah. That's why this was the first Achonah. Aber the Tachlis from Torah is Mizorzelena mit Avona Vasogin. What the Eibishter wants is that you should learn the Torah with your own understanding, with your own using your brain. The Farad said, "Behesem lezegi for the ganze Seder for Achonah Matan Torah." So therefore, after you have the foundation, the Bittul, now start different preparations of Matan Torah, because it has to be a Seder, different things, in order for the Torah to penetrate into the person, individual parts of the person. The Kavanah of Matan Torah is, what's the purpose of Matan Torah? The purpose is that each should connect himself, unite himself with the Torah. It becomes his Metzias, his personal life, his personal being. Therefore, Torah also has to be taken through learning. Learning means that your brain will understand the seichel of the Torah, the logic of the Torah. When you understand something in your seichel, in your brain, so when you understand something, you grasp it in your seichel. So the thing that you grasped, what you understand in your seichel, becomes part of you. Like food. We know Torah is compared to bread, to food. When you eat food, it becomes you. It becomes part of you. Same thing here. When you understand something, any seichel in Torah, any seichel b'chlal, it becomes part of you. And here we're talking about the seichel of Torah. Belosh Tanya, it says in Tanya, es wird a yichud nifla zwischen und von der Muskel mit dem Muskel. There becomes a real unity, a real union between your seichel, your brain, and the thing that you're understanding. So in the case of Torah, you become one with the Torah. So that's the purpose. The Torah is what the Eibishter wants you to learn the Torah, and you learn it using your brain. So your brain and your Metzias becomes one with the Torah. Comes out when a Yid understands Torah. So you take into yourself and you become united. And the Rebbe uses two expressions, nisached and nisyached. One is becomes one and becomes the union from, with the Eibishter's words, which is higher than Welt, which is beyond the limitations. And these are the two categories of what Yidden have to do to prepare to Matan Kabbalah Satira. The Ershta Achonetz Matan Torah is the first thing is the Vayich Hashem Yisrael Gishecha B'Lev Echad Tachas HaBittul. That the Yidden, right away when they came, the first thing is Bittul. That they had to unclothe themselves of their Metzias. They had to be in this battle. In which way do you see that they were in this battle and their Metzias didn't count? The fact that they were all able to be one. That shows that. Was spelt as all Yidden sollen sein Kishechad B'Lev Echad. Then when they felt that bittul, then they become all like one. The Klal Yisrael from Klal Yisrael Yechad. That's a general preparation of Klal Yisrael as one. The bittul that they get rid of their Metzi is not their Kelef Matan Torah. Aber from Sheni B'Sivan, but from the second day of Sivan, and the Rebbe stresses the word Sheni means not only is it the second day of Sivan, it's the second step. The first step is that Rosh Chodesh is the first day. That's the first darge is the bittul. And that happened on Rosh Chodesh. The second day of Sivan, which is the second step. So the Lashon of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is Hischel Moshe Leisasik Emo and Bini Kabbalah Satera. Moshe started getting involved with them in order to receive the Torah. The Rebbe stresses two words: to get involved with them. The Rebbe stresses, and he uses the Lashon Kabbalah Satera. It doesn't say involved in giving the Torah. Involved in them, they should receive the Torah. But the mitzvah gemeint, when he says that from the second day on, he was involved with them, how to receive the Torah. This means the Yoni Achone B'Chatu Nuf Azay Mitzi as the Mitzi so Adam nit norm is Yechide Shebene Pnimis Alev. So Azay Masse Veroy V'Klei Kibbutz Kabbalah Satera. That means now after the foundation of the bittul, now we have to take the second step, which is taking the Torah into your Mitzias. That means you have to do things that your Mitzias should become fit and a kale, a vessel to you should receive what your Mitzias to receive. Not only because of your Yechide Shebenefesh, which was the first of the bittul. So you should be ready to receive the Torah in your Mitzias, and that is the Eibusha said, "Vatem tiyulu malechas kohanim." On the second day, he said, so "You will be a nation, a kingdom of kohanim." He gave in the mitzvah Agbola or Prishet. One day the mitzvah of surrounding the mountain, the mitzvah separating was Hidden heilig gemacht. These things that Eibusha said, make them holy. Und in die Achone seine Francheluken zwischen ihnen. In those taka there were differences because we're talking the person as he is an individual with his individual limitations should become a Deibish. That's the second step. So first you have the bittul, then you have that, and the other Achones that started from the second, that happened the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth day. Those are all in the individual things, and there there were differences. Everyone took these things according to his level. By B'shas they received the Torah. There were differences in levels by Yidden. It says, Chazal tell us, Rasha brings him, it says, Moshe had his own section. The Aaron Mechitzel had his own section. The Muskenim had their own section. So there were differences. But by Alaman is given Porcha Nishvosam, and I'll call Dibur with Dibur. By everybody, it says, by every Dibur, the Neshama went out. Why did Neshama go out? It affected their Neshama. In other words, as much as it was connected to the individual, and he took it according to his level, but it affected the Etzem and Neshama, which was the first level of Bittul. The Neshama left them. They're no Mitzis anymore. And that happened, I'll call Dibur with Dibur. Every one of the 10 Seres Adibras and 10 commandments, as they call it, the Seres Adibras, every one, the Neshama, in other words, they took it differently, everyone, because this was already given to them as individuals. But at the same time, the fact that they were in this battle before was still there, and that's why every word made the Neshama leave. It affected the Neshama. Those are the Gemara. Now the Rebbe says, this is what the Gemara means when the Gemara says, he didn't say a word to them because of the weakness of the trip, of the journey. The urche halicha ruchnis. That doesn't mean the trip, the physical trip that they traveled from Refidim here. It means the spiritual trip that they took from before to what happened on Rosh Chodesh Sivan. As all Yidden, from Moshe Rabbeinu bis the Poshish of Yisrael. This thing that they reached a level that all the Yidden, starting from Moshe Rabbeinu to the simplest Yidden, on this Achat Ven, to become one. How did that happen? So we said before, because you're Mavatal your Metzias. That's the is verbunden mit Chol Shalom Al Yuseh. It's connected to weakness. In other words, their Metzias got weak, but not in a bad way. You got tired, maybe you can't do anything for Matan Torah. They got tired means their Metzias doesn't mean tired, it means weak. The Metzias, their Yeshas got weak. Achlishas of Bittel in Yidden, that caused the Bittel in Yidden. Well, Behesem was there because they had Chol Shadorche, meaning that they had this weakness of their Yeshas, of their Gashmas, of their individual Metzias. So therefore, he didn't say one word. This preparation of bittul has nothing to do with saying anything. It's something that you don't say, which means being quiet, being bittul. Bittul is not bittul. The real bittul is when you say something, it's already connected to something, so it's already a metzias. We have bittul, so that's what the first day. That's what the Gemara means. On the first day, we reached such a high level. They reached a level of bittul. That's what it means. So their metzias was weak, and therefore there was nothing to say. Saying is not part of it. And after they reached the bittul, level of bittul will all be in now like one person and one heart. fordert sich, als Eden soll sich herabtragen von dem Bittel Otzum. So now what has to happen, Eden should load himself from that Bittel. The Bittel should stay inside, but it should go take it from the Bittel. Sich mit the andere now you got to start individually working on the different preparations to Matan Torah. But dafke durch dem führt sich durch der Tachas von Torah, because only when you bring that down into your individual learning and things that you do, that's the purpose of Matan Torah. The Yichud Nifla zusammen mit Eisi Atem Leichtem. The Yichud Nifla said that when you learn the Torah with your Seichel, it becomes one with you. So you become one and with the Torah. And the Torah is Be'etzem, the Eibishter put himself in the Torah. So here you have both. You have the Bittul, and the Bittul has an effect even on your own Metzias, that you become one with the Neis Torah. Your own Metzias becomes one with the Neis Torah. So that's the two Achonis. So that started Rosh Chodesh Sivan and went all the way to Vov Sivan, which is Matan Torah.